Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. And every once in a while, every once in a great while, you have a guest that you become friendly with. And then you, every once in a while, have a guest that you become more than friendly with. And then, if you're really lucky, you have a guest who not only moves to Europe and leaves you behind and doesn't talk to you anymore, but all of a sudden, a year later, sends a message going, well, we won't say what you said, but later in the email, actually, we'll say whatever we want to. The hour before the show goes, the show's going to start in an hour, boys. I'm so excited I can't keep my pants on.
I took them off.
I told you to. And after I sent that email,
I took them off before you told me to.
Oh, well, you knew where I was going.
Here.
You knew where I was going.
It's Portugal. It's hot.
How hot is it there?
It got up to 103 last year, so we'll see what it does this year. That's not too bad. It's like 107 in LA, I think, today.
Is it really? I didn't realize it was that hot in LA.
Somewhere in LA. It was.
How's the humidity there?
Not bad. It's not. It's actually very like California. Very similar.
And welcome to the 80-year-old man podcast. Let's all have our V8 and insure and talk about our knees next.
Insure to your health, bitches.
How many 80-year-olds do you know who left their whole life in California, moved to Portugal, and bought a wee castle?
You're the only one.
Let's slash half that story and put Clearwater, Florida.
Well, that's not even close to the same.
By the way, what we really need to be concerned about is the fact that Chad just admitted to collecting 80-year-old. Like, if you're missing an 80-year-old, Chad has it.
Somebody's got to change the light bulbs in this damn house, and
I just assumed that was a given.
Yeah. No, so
Chad's octogenarian labor force.
Todd, when you say before you bought this wee castle, you actually kept calling it a wee castle. I have questions about it because, the boneheads were supposed to have been invited, but somewhere that email got left off somewhere along there, but that's okay. In Portugal, do you have air conditioning in this wee castle?
Not yet, but we have it en route.
En route.
On the way.
So when it gets to 100...
we have...
Keep going. No, I'm curious.
We should have it within the next month, and it should hit the bigger degrees after that. So we should be fine.
Okay. So
the holdup was air conditioning is a little different here. So it's European air conditioning unit. So it's nice. It works very well, but you have to have one unit that cools a couple of rooms, and so we need to have stuff ready for that. This place was pretty much a disaster when we moved in.
Do you have any regrets?
Because everybody's pissing on it since it's a wee castle.
I was going to make
true.
I was going to make a joke about the same different but piss joke earlier.
This place leaked like everybody was pissing on it. The tower leaked, the steeple leaked, the bedrooms leaked. It had been abandoned for 10 to 20 years, depending on who you asked, and it was a mess. So all of last year was just spent stopping leaks and painting and making it livable. So the top floor is livable. The bottom floor is now clean, but we're going to put windows in, and all of that stuff happens this next couple of months.
Wow.
So it's nonstop work.
What's really interesting about that to me, though, is you're probably one of the few people who said, "Oh, I had to repair the leak in my tower."
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Can I speak to you as a friend for a second? May I?
Please do.
Motherfucker. You're the only motherfucker I know who left Western Kentucky, went to bought a wee castle, first gen, right? First one to go to the college and your family, blah, 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 all these things, went to Hollywood, became a major screenwriter, wonderful stories that have been
major.
Shut up. Out of the
you made it further than us.
Wee castle, wee screenwriter.
Out of the four. And then this, once again, last use of the word motherfucker. This motherfucker right here, wherever, depending on how you point, has a steeple? Uses the
I
word
do have a steeple, yes. And it leaked.
I'm so
It leaked
proud.
bad.
I am so proud of you. But
When you would go into the stairwell and it was raining, it was like you were outside. It was not good.
Could be worse. Could be raining.
Could be raining. So, do you have
It
any
rains a lot
regrets?
here.
Well,
No, none. Zero. Not a single regret.
how's
No.
your Portuguese?
Absolutely. I mean, boa noite. Tudo bem? I mean, it's not bad. It's not great.
He just
But
called
it's
your
not
mom a slut.
It's also not a.
He did that in English last time we talked.
The Portuguese language is not an easy language.
No,
It's not. So it's that was, and it's not like in the States where the States is bilingual. It's not here. It's Portuguese. A lot of the younger people will speak English so you can get by, but the older people don't for the most part. And so it's not, when you go to a website, it's Portuguese and there's no option to read it in English. So you're depending on Google Translate or everything else. That we didn't know was going to happen. So that was more difficult, but it's life. Every day that we've been here has been a new challenge, but it's been fun. I mean, that was part of the adventure. That's what we signed up for. We knew that. I mean, we live in a wee castle.
Like I want now you to do there needs to be a reality show restoring the Wee Castle. I would watch like a couple episodes of it at least, which is more than I watch most reality shows. So
I can absolutely not comment on that.
Which means it's already started.
Here, let me show you around if this will even work. So
yes,
we call this the winter room, and I can't see my camera, so I don't know if I'm actually pointed at the fireplace or not. But
I was gonna say there's a chair right next to the fireplace.
Yeah, well,
that's old school. That's the way. And there was another chair over there, but we moved it. There's a stove there that we were going to put in that fireplace, but we've decided to go a different route. So then that's me. Mm-hmm. And then over here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a massive tapestry up there.
Yes.
Oh. And I don't know if you see it. And then this is the winter room, as I said. The winter room is probably going to be the last room that we'll fix up, that we'll work on. It's mostly our. I can't see am I back in focus?
Up a little bit.
Can I tell you what as I was logging in, what I was really, really hoping for?
What?
Tell me.
I was hoping that as soon as I clicked on and saw you, I was hoping to God it was going to be an exact recreation of your shed.
That would have been great. But no, the shed, exactly as it was, is still back in Manhattan Beach. I didn't take anything from it. It's all still in there. So the guy who's renting the place, when he goes out there to get stuff, because I said you can use my tools, whatever you need, all that stuff's still there.
Oh my God.
So,
yeah. But you took the gun, the God Killer, right? That's with you, I would imagine.
No. Do you know Evan Dixon? Evan Dixon's a screenwriter. He has the God Killer. He has my severed head. He has all my props. I didn't want to fly with him because I wasn't sure what the rules would be.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't, because they could have very well stopped them. And customs is notoriously difficult in Portugal. So I didn't want to mail them. Yeah. So he still has everything there. I'll figure it out, but.
No, I don't know Evan. Well, I'll Google him later. What did he write?
He's written a bunch of stuff. He's been in Hollywood for ages. He's old school.
Oh, okay.
He started out, I think he worked as an agent for a while, and then he did some film critic work, and then he's been writing for years now.
Okay, cool.
So
go ahead.
The VHS movies.
Yeah.
He did he did one of the shorts in the last one.
Oh, okay, cool. We probably know people who know him. So sorry I didn't know that.
Yeah, he would.
So
yeah. And by the way, if anybody can help you get Mike Mendez on the show, it's me.
No shit.
All right. First of all, that means that you do follow me on the social medias. Second,
hey, did it for starters? No. I do follow you. I just don't read anything you say. And second,
that's what I do to James.
Don't you guys have a show that you do like once or twice a week?
It comes
And
and
don't
goes.
you talk about sometimes Mike Mendez?
Yeah.
Has it
You
not ever
listen?
come up on the show?
Yeah.
Is
I
it
mean, I just didn't
possible?
realize you were still listening.
Oh no, someone must have told me.
There's a service that does cliff notes of our episodes,
Yeah,
Joe.
they just send me
It's
clip
about a
notes,
half
yeah.
a page. It's a half a page. Sums
Bonehead
up
clip
everything
notes.
that we
Yeah.
talk about in 2 hours.
So,
But it's great because it comes in the yellow cover and everything. It's great.
as a retort to this, I would say once again,
Yes.
the reason that I have not been fired from some of the convention stuff I do on my side hustle, and the reason why we still are able to give, and no one has ever, to my knowledge, said, please don't do that show, is because I don't bother you all with, will you please?
That's true. You don't.
I
You're
don't.
very good about that.
I mean, if somebody brings it up, I'll ask, but rarely do I ever, because it's always, I have people ask me all the time, but I was like, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. But yes, I'm taking advantage of you once this is over with,
Okay.
Mike on the show, because he
Could you
has
have
kind
worded
of
that a
ho
little
hums.
different, Joe?
No, I really want to take advantage of that sexy.
Well,
beat.
I've known Mike for a long time. Like Mike would have a big Christmas party every year.
Yeah.
Mike, I was in Don't Kill It, a little small part in it. So yeah, I've known Mike for a long time.
Well, the funny
He's a
thing
good guy.
is that he will kind of ho hum, and I don't know. I was wondering if he's, because I know other people who know him, and I've wondered if he's just shy, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think he would do it if he's in the mood. Just like me, I haven't been in the mood in a year.
So what? So can I give a little bit of backstory? We haven't bothered you. I keep up. I like some of your posts, whatever. But all of a sudden you emailed us, and so are you getting a lot of requests now for podcasts?
No, not necessarily. I did. I kind of fell off of the radar there for a while. So somebody did reach out recently and ask, and I didn't want to just. So I reached out to you first.
Whore.
I mean, I said I would do their podcast, but I
Yeah.
reached out to you. And
Well, we appreciate you letting us repop that cherry.
Yes, slut.
but I think the last three guys I had sex with on a podcast were you guys, because it was right before I left, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
You were
didn't-
I
packing
think my
shit up.
last.
Yeah.
Didn't walk right
Yeah.
for a month.
Yeah, you were packing shit up.
He gave me polio, folks.
I don't think that means what you
That's
think
true.
it means, Chad.
So, if you don't
We
mind,
just go with it.
not to
And
change
if
the
that's what
subject,
he thinks caused it, let him have it. I agree.
you didn't want to do we were specifically, and you're like, can't we just bullshit? And I said, of course, every other person has a so we can just bullshit. I want to ask about the damn dolls behind, because
I was going to ask, are they moving for anybody else? Because every time I look, it looks like one of them.
Oh,
is
James
moving.
wasn't here for this part, I don't think. So yeah.
No, James, you weren't here, and he said he wasn't going to do the story. So as I said earlier,
Well,
people say, "Are you're afraid of porcelain dolls?" Like, no, they're just creepy. It's like clowns. They're just creepy.
Yeah.
Don't
My
want 'em around
sister
me.
had real quick before you get into this, my sister had a collection that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
You're talking about her crabs. You're not talking about the dolls.
Column A, column B. And then
Never
when they
scared me,
teamed
though.
up.
And then my wife's mother had a whole collection that they collected for her when she was growing up, and she tried to give it to us when we moved into our house. And luckily my wife agreed with me. I said, absolutely not. I don't want that in this house.
Well, that's
Oh.
because the demons in your house told you that they were creepy. Like the demons were like, "Nope, bring those dolls in." That's weird.
So please do tell what is up with the dolls, because you said they came with a house.
yeah, you asked, are they mine or my wife's? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, they came in the house. So when we came in, they weren't out like where you could see them, but they were, stuck in closets and different places. And Ida didn't like them. I didn't think anything of them, but Ida didn't like them. She's like, take them to the garage, because we have a massive garage, which will eventually be like my new shed, but it's enormous. And it's old, and it's ancient. But anyway, I took them out there, and every time I would go out to get tools and such, they were moved. Like they weren't where I'd left them. And it got to a point where it was like, no, I would come back in the house and I would make a joke about it. And then I would get my camera to go film and go out, and they were not where I left them when I was just there 5-10 minutes ago. Now, granted, we have a lot of stray cats. I mean, there's probably a perfectly normal reason, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
So
they're possessing the goddamn cats.
So now, when
I moved them back into the house. No,
well, that's easier to keep an eye on them.
Well, hold on, James, before you ask. So when you moved them back, did they stop moving?
Yeah, they were unhappy out there. Wouldn't you be unhappy being in a garage in the middle of nowhere?
I live in a fucking basement, not so much, but that's a whole other story for a whole other episode. That's for the therapist.
Here's what I think.
There were a few in the basement.
And here's what I think. I think those dolls are slowly chipping away at Todd's soul, but he's so big of an asshole that he doesn't notice.
Well, now,
boy, Chad's coming out with both barrels.
Well, now the flip side of this, though, when you say you found them around the house, were any of them buried under?
Because I love you.
Were any of them buried under concrete, or perhaps behind a crucifix, or when they were around the house, did they seem to be in one area more than another?
No, they were literally spread out throughout the house.
Oh, so they had taken over the whole house by that point. All right.
Yeah, they had taken over the whole house. And what's interesting is we've met and made friends with several people who are obviously locals. And one lady, when she found out we were here, said, she started getting very serious about this place and said, you need to put red marks behind every mirror, and you need to do all these things, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. You need to get rid of those dolls. And I was like, whoa. Don't go bringing that negativity into this, because we've now been here for several months, and other than some bumps in the night, really nothing major has happened. And I don't want to unleash that stuff. I don't even want to give it, a thought process. So no, we're not doing any of that. And as far as I was concerned, moving those dolls to the garage, they didn't like it. So I moved them back in. They've been fine ever since. And just recently, I pulled them all together and put them up there just to get them out of the way. And because this has been, for the longest time, our work storage room, and it got dusty, and I didn't want them getting messed up. So I put them up there. That said, just so you boys know, this place is a little bit haunted. I can't sugarcoat it.
I was going to say,
there's more than a few bumps in the night.
Okay, because I was kind of curious. Did you know about the history of the place, or did you do any research on it?
Yeah.
You just didn't want to know.
There was no research. We know that the guy who owned this house was the guy who ran all of the carnivals in Portugal. And carnivals in Portugal are not the same as carnivals in America. And carnivals in America, you got to hide your wallet, and there's a more nefarious nature. Here, it's just party and fun, and everybody drinks and everybody listens to music and dance, and it's a very festive thing.
It's carnival.
And so he was extraordinarily wealthy. We had an architect come through the place, and he said this place was built like someone who had too much money and didn't know that he was putting too much into it. It's everything about it. The walls are thick, as you can imagine. It leaked because it was abandoned for 10 to 20 years. And so it needed a lot of love, but we've been giving it that love. And I don't know how big it is. The schematics that we do have, and we found some old drawings, they're not accurate. There are fireplaces that don't exist and different things, but I would say it's probably 7,000 square feet. But there's also 10 other buildings, and they're massive. There's a 4,000 square foot building down here. There's a probably 3,000 or 4,000 square foot building on the other end of the land. And then there's little buildings all over the place. There's 2 we call the Hobbit holes, where we keep all the firewood and all of the tools and stuff. It's going to be an adventure. It's 12 acres of land. It's fruit trees galore. Goats.
Now, I just keep imagining that the house is still evolving. Like it's going to eventually meet its own plan.
Like the Winchester House or Rose Red.
Yeah, there you go. So the plans that you have is where it wants to go. And now I want to see that movie.
Or worse, it's H.A. Tone's Portuguese summer house.
I also want to see that movie, Chad.
I've been to some places that you walk in and you feel it. Something's not right.
Right.
And I admit that when you go down into the basement, there's an odd feeling down there. But for the most part, this place seems calm. And Ida, my wife,
Mhm.
worked on Ghost Hunters, so she's been in all of those places, and some of them are clearly nefarious. But neither one of us, and her brother's here too, and has been here for a year. None of us have felt anything. Now we've had people come over. We had two friends who came over and stayed for like a month right before Christmas, and they swore every night around 3:30 they would hear voices and sometimes singing, and it was only them, and we weren't hearing it. And in a couple of nights, I got up. I set an alarm and got up at 3:30 and listened, and I didn't hear anything. And the walls, although they're very thick, there's no insulation between the walls inside the house, so you can hear pretty easy. But I heard nothing. So, but other people have heard stuff, and on occasion you'll hear a door slam. On occasion you'll hear footsteps. That's normal. Everybody.
Yeah,
has
it's just.
I was about to say, so apropos of nothing, but when my wife and I were house hunting, there was a house that she loved. She looked at it all online, and it was all literally the person took us to see it. The same real estate agent Joe used. We opened the door. There were leaves all over the floor of the entryway, and like there was a chandelier, but it had been pulled out of the ceiling. And me and the real estate agent both said somebody killed themselves here. That is what has happened. This is something terrible is happening. And my wife was like, "No, I really like this house." And I'm like, "Honey, something happened here." Like you don't show a house and the floor is literally covered in leaves and the chandelier's hanging down. I'm pretty good with us leaving. And so that, by the way, we did not buy that house. Go ahead, Chad.
That was this house when I bought it.
Well, that wasn't the exact, but yes, probably those same conditions. I did help you with your back deck. Did they ever move those skeletons, Chad?
No, but
So when they
hold on.
he's
Uh-oh, somebody's got the giggles.
put your teeth back in your mouth and say it.
When we repaired our deck last year, I had to remove some boards, and I found a whole rabbit skeleton underneath it.
It wasn't so much the skeleton finding that got to you; it's the fact that it had like 6 knives in it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He didn't remember eating it. Now, what is the red? You talk about red marks behind the mirror. I'm not familiar with that. So
I don't know that either.
And remember, I know your wife worked on Ghost Hunters, and you know that I'm really close with Scarefest, but actually I don't believe in any of that.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. So the 2 out of the 3 boneheads don't, and then there's a third bonehead who's the most educated of the boneheads.
Why are you pointing at your penis?
Because that's the most educated.
That's my nickname.
It's the one that went to class. I was the one back there hanging out with women. The dick was the one wanted to go out and go learn something. But who is not necessarily that he believes as much as he doesn't like tempting fate.
I get that. I totally get
things that I cannot explain, and I just, as somebody that likes to pretend I'm somewhat educated, my rule of thumb is if I can't explain it, I don't mess with it.
If you can't explain it, it's a haint.
It's also why I don't use
exactly the same way. Yes. That's why I brought the dolls back in the house.
Yeah,
I would go out there, and I found it a little unnerving that I mean, it was 3 of them mainly, but it was this little girl. I don't know if you can see them, but this little girl on the far end, the big tall girl, and the pale girl on the. There's a drawbridge in the middle. That's the dark spot. You can't really see it from here, but it's like a cramped drawbridge. I don't know. It's probably worth a fortune. But the 2 girls on the sides of it, they kept swapping places, moving around, and so I brought them back in the house, and they've been fine ever since. I don't feel anything weird from them.
So go ahead, James.
Well, and that's the entire thing. Maybe they're being helpful. Maybe they're doing something in the house that is good. Maybe we need to give them some credit. It's the joke that I always make is I've got my great-great-grandfather's pocket watch when he worked on the trains, and we have tried to repair it. My uncle, before he passed it on to me, tried to repair it, and it never worked. It has reactivated a few times where it'll run for exactly 1 hour and stop again. Once was when we moved into this house, and people were like, "Is that creepy?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's the watch has never came for me in my slumber. I'm okay with it."
Well, James has a point. I wonder if those dolls are stopping the demon that clearly lives in the effing basement that we just talked about. from coming
I
upstairs. You
think,
have some sort of cellar dweller, sir, who's going to
well,
arrive.
the basement, the storyline, the basement was clearly the servants. It's the servants' quarters.
Uh-huh.
There's a room down there with a giant hook in the ceiling where they would hang the meat,
Yeah.
and there's salt bins down there for all the meat. I mean,
Oh, that's
it's an
awesome.
old setup. When we got here in the kitchen, there was a series of numbers, and each bedroom upstairs had a little button you could push, and it would ring the master bedroom downstairs, and a loud bell that would wake whoever was trying to sleep down there. So I think, and I've also heard that the people who worked for the couple that lived here, they weren't exactly the best to work for. So there was obviously some ill feelings, and so I don't know. I'm a James. There are things I don't know and I can't explain. So, I don't want to run around here and put things on the back of mirrors. But at the same time, I'm not going to put these dolls in the garage. And when we found them, I mean, they were covered in old blankets that were covered in debris and filth and dust, and the place had literally been rained into for years. So there was moss growing on the walls. There was black mold. We cleaned all that up. So whatever universal spirits or whatever might be here, they got to be happy that we're cleaning the place up.
Yeah.
We're making it livable. We're bringing families in. We're it's joy and music. And I mean, I play Enigma 3 times a month. They got to love that stuff.
Sail away, sail away.
Well, I was going to say, but actually that's also has to be a testament.
Not Enya.
I'm sticking with
Enigma.
I am sticking with sail away Enya.
But that's also has to be a testament to how well that property was made, like you said, because I'll be honest, I briefly owned a house and it had flooding one time, or it had rain came in one time, and the house never recovered. And so, I mean, for it to be rained into for 20 years, it's solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brick. You wouldn't know it from outside, but it's a brick building with thick layer of mortar everywhere, all over it. And the corners, each corner is marble. And when I sealed it up completely, it still leaked. And it's because the marble was so old, it was getting in through the cracks of the marble. So I had to seal all the marble completely. And the tower itself was quite literally a fiberglass swimming pool. I don't know how they did it. I guess you spray fiberglass on, but they sprayed it so that the whole inside of the tower was a pool. And so when it would rain, what had happened, nobody had been here in years. And so all of the drains were just full of gunk. So there's no way water could come out. So that water would just sit there, and just finally water is soluble and is going to eat through anything eventually. And so it ate through that fiberglass and it went. And under that room is going to be my office, under the tower, in the tower, the top part. And then under that will be my office. But below that room is our master bedroom. So it was full of water. And below that room is the living room that was for the servants' quarters, which will be Ida and Owen's mom and dad, because they're moving here in September. So that's why we're scrambling to get the bottom done for them, because they're 85 and we're trying to get it nice for them. So they're in Leeds, England right now, which is very cold. It's not cold here. So they'll have a nice warm twilight where they can live until they're 114.
That's awesome. You are going to have a whole family there. I didn't realize you were moving in her. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and
it
then we're
sounds
turning
dreadful
all
to
of
me,
the surrounding buildings. No, it's going to be lovely. But we're turning all of the surrounding buildings into your listeners are probably bored out of their minds. But we're turning all the buildings into Airbnbs, and we're going to shoot here. We have
what I thought you were going to pull the Charlie Band, buy a castle and shoot your movie.
Yeah, I mean, that was when we first got here. There's a lot of grapevines everywhere, and the grapevines have been infested with blackberries, the great, delicious blackberries, but there's thorns everywhere. And blackberries are invasive; they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they've in some places they've just devoured the grapevines. But there's this one section that you can walk probably 100 yards. So you can go from what we call the village, which is where a bunch of the buildings are, go from the village to the warehouse, which is at the far end of the land. And you're walking down this arched line of grapevines, and it's gorgeous, but it's full of thorns. And the day that we were looking at the place, I looked at her and I said, can you imagine if something was chasing you? Because there's nowhere to go but straight. and there's thorns everywhere. You can't go through. You can't get out. And so she was like, "Oh, we should buy this place and do movies here." So that's what happened. That's the plan. So that's what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be nice.
You talked a little bit about it before you did it, because you also flirted with going to Ireland as well, right?
Yeah.
As I recall, unless I got some of it wrong, and please correct me.
No, we did. We went all over Ireland. We looked everywhere in Ireland. We found a place that we loved. We made an offer. We got in a bidding war, and we were defeated. And we felt sucker punched. But that place was big and it was weird. And so we talked about it. We didn't want to just go find something that was finished. Don't be yawning. It's midnight here.
No, it's not you. It's me.
I know. I was just busting.
No, you could go ahead and bust me all you want, but keep going. I'm listening. About the Ireland.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
You were talking about getting a bidding.
So we found a place.
Yeah.
So we decided from now on we're going to find places that have kind of a wow factor. So when we saw this, I mean, it's a wee castle. So how can you not fall in love with a wee castle? And so, but we painted it with the sealant, and the sealant only comes in white or gray. And the place was yellow when we got here. And so we're painting it with this white sealant. We thought that would be good for weather as well, because the sun doesn't penetrate white as well as it penetrates everything else. And it is literally cooler this year than last year, just because we painted it white. But we found out about 3 months after we painted it, we ran into somebody who says, did y'all get planning permission to paint that white? And they did talk exactly like this, because the Portuguese have the same accent.
Oh,
and I said, "No,
are you shitting me? They sound like they're from. I can't tell if you're being facetious.
I am in fact shitting you.
Okay.
Oh,
They don't sound like
you
this.
shitting me?
No.
Because that'd be awesome if that was true.
Shitting you. It would be awesome if it's true.
Awesome.
No, I was definitely shitting you. But they asked if we had gotten planning permission, because you're not supposed to change color, and we didn't know that, so we changed color. But this place was built so old. There's no plans, so there's no way to prove that the place was originally yellow in the first place anyway. So here we are.
I have one more personal question. Go ahead, James.
I just wanted to say I now want to live in a world where the Portuguese all took language lessons from Foghorn Leghorn. I've never realized how much that would mean to me, but now I want to believe that's true.
I say, did you get the plan, son? Did you know it wasn't supposed to be white, son? What you thinking, son?
Let me enlighten you a little bit.
Let me enlighten you. Now, Dr. Thomas. So seriously, in all fairness, this is a kind of a personal question. Is it okay if I ask about your child?
Of course, yes. She will be here.
Izzy? I was about to say, is Izzy been over to see it? Right. Her name's Izzy, right?
She and her mother are flying here in 2 weeks.
Oh,
she has never.
Man, she can't come by herself. Sorry.
It's fine. Well, no, because she's never flown by herself. So to even fly in the States by yourself is a task, but to fly to Europe by yourself. So I said to Mel, why don't you come? And we all get along. In fact, when Melanie got married, Ida was one of her bridesmaids. So it was all one big happy family.
Okay. I'm going to make a joke about how
it's
you
weird.
Can tell the truth once we stop recording, but that's okay.
I'm not saying she's not crazy.
I mean, her taste in men.
Izzy's cool.
Izzy's cool.
I know.
So Izzy hasn't seen it.
Izzy will be here. No, just pictures and videos. No, she hasn't seen it. So this is the longest Izzy and I have been apart, which has been weird because we went from. Even it was all she was in Memphis and I was in California, so it's not like we were seeing each other every day. But she would spend summer break, spring break, fall break, Christmas, Thanksgiving. But she didn't this time. So this is the longest that we've been apart. So she'll be here in 2 weeks, spend the summer here, and then she probably will go to school here. She'll probably, it's European school system, so it's a wee bit cheaper than you boys in America. Y'all's education's a little pricey.
Yeah.
I mean,
as
shit.
As
you see it down here and paid for it.
hold on. As a representative of my institution, I disagree. But in reality, yes, you're absolutely right. Actually, there is no danger of me ever being referred to as a representative of any institution.
Well,
But I think
hold on, James, real quick, just to finish that up. I just want to say, as a dad, I understand that's been tough, and I'm glad she's coming over. So I just
I am too.
I can't imagine that would have tore me. So I'm
And just so you know, she approved of the dolls.
well, I was
yeah, but her dad's fucking nuts.
True.
well, but I have to say though, I mean, it is one of those things. Like I work away from home, and it's like, oh, I rent a little apartment or whatever. It's a lot different when you go. Listen, I bought a wee castle, and so your story is way cooler than mine. Where I'm like, I have a small 1-bedroom apartment that I keep when I work away from home. So at least, I mean, that the wait led to something. Whereas mine, it's when they come visit me, it's like, oh, there's the bedroom. Look at that. So at least you've got a cool story. I mean, you've got something to show that
We do have we do have some cool stories. And my siblings will all come. My brother's in Lexington. The twin, he's 10 years younger than me. The twins are 13 years younger than me, and they're in Arlington, Tennessee. So they're all coming with their kids and their significant others, and like it's fairly nonstop, and it has been nonstop. We've been working every single day. There was a period when I can't remember how long we went without taking a break. Like I never knew what day of the week it was, but we didn't have a choice. We didn't have any water. We didn't have any electric when we got here. And the Portuguese are notoriously slow to get things to happen. So we had to do a lot of it ourselves. We have 5 wells on the land, but only one of them worked. And we didn't have any idea how to make it get water here. So all of that stuff had to be figured out. And it's been nuts. And when we did finally get water, there is a fig tree growing next to our water tank. And it's a massive water tank, almost the size of a pool. And I don't know if you've had any experiences with a fig tree,
No.
but they will go everywhere. Their roots will get into everything. And so when you take a shower here, at least when you did, and you were taking a shower in brown water because there were fig tree roots all inside the tank. So we had to get in that and clean it. And it's only this tall. So I'm ducking and I'm hitting my head. My head's all bloody and bruised. I mean, it has been an absolute adventure. It's the most fun I've ever had.
Now, are you serious? It is the most fun you've ever had?
Absolutely.
Would she say
Are
the
you
same
kidding?
thing?
No, it's fantastic. At the end of the day, I see what I've accomplished. When I'm writing, at the end of the day, I give it to somebody else and they tell me what they would have done.
Now
So it's a different experience. I still write.
That I understand absolutely completely, because being a bureaucrat sometimes I completely understand.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, well, you make more money and you're not out digging a ditch. And these two have heard me say, well, if I was digging the ditch, at least I could see that it was dug.
At the end of the day, yes. And not have to move the ditch 10 feet to the left. So no, I get that. And I love it.
Well, I was
It's been hard.
I find it so utterly fascinating because and again, the Kentucky's going to come out because it's, I grew up on a quote unquote working farm, right? You had people that had farms, but then you had working farms. And you may be the only person I'm ever going to encounter that has created a working castle. I mean, you're going to be able to shoot things there. You've got and you've got plans to have, the kind of a bed and breakfast type setup. So to create a working castle in modern times, I'm fascinated on several levels. That is amazing. So yeah, to hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, that would be you're doing something that's not been done. So it's fascinating.
Now you're going to have random people come in and give them the plague.
That's a different type of working castle, Chad. We've got to talk about why you're going to prison.
We don't have a lot of plague here, but it's also, oddly enough, it will be a working farm, and it was a working farm. We have probably 75 olive trees. We know nothing about olives, so we had a couple come by and say, "Hey," they didn't say it in a Kentucky accent, but they did say the translation.
You want them pitted?
Said, we will come pick them and we will prune your trees and we will give you a bunch of olive oil and in exchange. And so we were like, okay, because we weren't going to do anything but let the olives rot and fall. And so they did. And our olive trees are old, so you can't actually eat them because they would be sour, and you only eat the younger olive trees. But
I didn't
or
know
the
that
younger olives
shit.
from the olive tree. I didn't
I
know that either.
I eat
And so
olives
ours
and
will
didn't
only
know
make
that.
olive oil. But at the time that all this went down, the olives in Greece, something went wrong there. And so olive prices have shot through the roof. So when
Right.
they came back to us with all this olive oil, it was like I was expecting a jug of olive oil. We got, massive jugs of olive oil. We have more olive oil than we'll ever need. And we're about to get a whole bunch more because they're already growing again.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
we have a ton of olives. And eventually we'll do it ourselves. But, the focus has been on the house. It hasn't been on the land. And so we just cut a deal with the local goat farmer, who comes in and he brings his goats and he's tilling the land and he's cutting trees and he's preparing the land. We signed a contract with him for free. It's completely bartered system. He has access to the land for 5 years for his goats. And as in exchange, he takes care of the land. It's just everything about this is awesome. I love it.
Hold on. Ooh,
And
I feel dirty. Oh,
Well,
oh.
no,
No, don't.
it sounds
Do you
like
not love goats?
it sounds like
no, it's a barter system. Ooh,
That-
ooh, where's my capitalism?
Hold
Ugh.
on. Except for the goat part, you know what it sounds like? So it sounds like the house. It
Yeah.
sounds like Kentucky, especially eastern and western Kentucky. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, when we approached him, we were like, how much would it cost you to come, bring your goats to sort of help us tame the land? Because it was unruly. And I go out there and I cut it, but I'm an old man. I don't need to be out there cutting trees down. And so he came out and just to see 64 goats making their way around the land from your tower is kind of awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did you say, Rapunzel? From your what?
From your tower.
Is it ivory, bitch?
Oh,
I'm telling you, you write one movie where you put that fucker in space, and before you know it, you're a goddamn mafioso.
well,
That's true.
They normally don't live in. You could have went several different ways. It would have been castle related, but you went
No,
mafioso.
I've got olive oil still on
I
the
know
yeah.
mafia is not where I would have thought, but
I can
No.
only imagine what that olive oil tastes like because the olive oil you buy here is not probably not really olive oil. It's mixed with a bunch of other stuff.
yeah, it's fantastic. It reminds me of when we went to Greece.
Oh,
The best olive oil I ever had was in Greece, and it reminds me of that. Like
That's
it's
awesome.
not mixed with anything. It's just watching the whole system and how it works, and we have the tools. We have stuff here. It all has to be cleaned up and working again. Like we have an old dump truck in the garage. It's I've never seen it anything like it. It's a front end loader dump truck, and it's part tractor, part dump truck. It's got a crank engine. So we cranked it twice and got it running just for a nanosecond. So we know it'll run. But it's just one of those things where we've been focused on this place so we can get the in-laws living here and everybody else before we go out into the world. And right now we got the goat farmer doing stuff. So and then we've got a TV show and 2 movies that we have to write, and it's just
Oh wait, can you
so
talk
much
about
to do.
those?
Yeah, now hold on. Don't just gloss over that.
Yeah,
But before we get to the
yeah.
TV
I mean,
show and the movies,
Oh geez.
yeah.
let's get back to the goats. No, I'm just fucking
No.
around.
No, let's
We want to know about the goats.
No, actually, I do
They're
want
lovely.
really quick. I do have one question before we get to TV and the movies. I'm hearing B&B. What I'm hearing is that you need the Bonehead Weekly B&B room.
Weekly?
And
Yes, maybe.
we just need. I just need a week in Portugal, just so I can say I went to you see your wee castle. Now get to your movies.
Absolutely. I mean, check. We have 5 bedrooms upstairs. We occupy 2 of those. And then, so 3 of them are always open. And then there's 2 bedrooms. Well, there's 4 bedrooms downstairs, but none of those are ready yet. In fact, the windows aren't even in the place. They're all just laying on the floor. So we have to take the old windows out, put the new windows in. So, but that will be ready. And then we've got 3 buildings that will be turned into cottages. And then we're also building a lake on the land, about an
Wow.
acre. sized lake. And we're going to build tree houses and huts and weird things all around the lake that people can rent and use. But this is also, when we shoot here, this will be for crew as well. So for the above the line crew would stay here, and then there are hotels in the area that the other crew would stay at, and we'd move it around that way. But that's the plan. And then I didn't even mention this. We've hooked up with the university in Coimbra, and we're starting a film school because there's not a lot of crew here. So we're going to teach and train crew so that when we bring movies over, we'll have a crew.
Wow, Todd, man,
awesome.
you make me want to take a nap.
It's not, but it's not like if you look at the movies coming out of Ireland, they're impressive.
Yeah.
And they have a massive crew, but it wasn't like that 10 years ago. They just didn't have it. It was before Game of Thrones, before Vikings,
Right.
before all of those things moved in, before Star Wars were there, all that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really have the crew. Now they do because they've had to. It was, necessity. And so they don't really have that here because not a lot of movies are coming here. So we're hopefully going to change that. And the people that we're talking to, and, it's not, we're talking to government. We're not talking to, we're talking to upper level government. And I mean, I think it's a good thing.
I think it's
Wow.
a fantastic thing. And I'm really proud of you. I know it's come off as a smartass a bunch of times, especially you and your tower. But but you're doing what you love, and you're not only creating, you're giving back.
Well, I've been on your show
Yeah.
17 or 18 times.
No.
And I've
Six.
always complained about the industry. I've always complained, I know it's 4 times. I've always complained about all of the stuff that we can't do as screenwriters. And so we finally said, okay, screw it. Let's just go do it. Let's go make our own movies, figure it out. We don't know how to do it. We're figuring out as we go. And we don't have crew, so we're going to make our own crew. And when we can't, if we don't have crew, we'll bring people in. Ireland's not that far away. But, we're going to do everything we can to make the movies that we want to make with our friends. I love the thing that James Gunn does where he's constantly bringing his friends onto his movies. And there's lots of guys that do it.
Right.
I want to do that. I want to bring my friends in and have them write and direct their own stuff and not overthink them. Let them do their thing. Help them with the financing, help them with the locations. Portugal's a great place to shoot. It's locations galore. Every kind of scenery you could want is here. It's very California in a lot of ways, but then depending on where you go, there's mountains, there's snow. I mean, it's all here. So, I mean, there's not a lot of snow. You got to go way up there to find it. But there's one bear.
And you're not talking about yourself.
No. I am mostly straight at this point.
Mostly.
No, there's apparently a bear up north that migrated over from Spain, and he's the only bear in Portugal.
That is crazy.
See, now that's a children's book, The Lonely Portuguese Bear.
Yeah, you should write that. I'll do your art.
As somebody actually made a comment recently, I have good ideas. I lack follow through, but that's just life.
So let's get back to that TV show and a couple of movies. What I'm hearing is that we may have a little bit of a scoop. We never get a scoop, so we're just excited.
I told you guys when I had a scoop,
Yeah,
I would give it to you guys. I just haven't had a scoop to give you. I did say that a long time ago.
You did.
I have not had a
you
scoop.
did.
You did, but now you do know that we've been promised that by maybe a few other people too. Not that we don't love you and you're one of our favorites, but I have heard that story a couple of times.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
Yes. You worked in the same town.
Yeah. The TV show, we'll see what's about to happen. There's actually a couple of TV shows that we're out with right now. And then there's 2 horror movies. One is something that Eda and I came up with just being here, and we will shoot it here, and this would be the location. And then there's a company that reached out to us recently who said, "You're in a castle? Is it somewhere that like we could shoot something there?" And we were like, "Yeah." So we sent them some pictures, and so we'll see what happens. And but it's it's a place where there is a hotel. There's a couple of hotels. There's lots of Airbnbs around, but it's a good place that you could actually shoot. There's a huge river. There's a dam. Fast and Furious, their last movie shot at this dam, so
Oh,
it's
wow.
not like the film doesn't come here. Now, I think there's only like 3 seconds of that shot in the movie, and they
I'm
shut down
assuming it's
everything
that.
for 2 weeks
I'm
to do
assuming
that.
it's that last shot.
I haven't seen the movie.
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Okay.
I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen
yeah.
it.
I would assume, Chad, just simply because my son watches them, and
Yeah.
so
But there's apparently a dam, and if there's a shot of a dam, then that might be it.
Yeah.
But it's not a
Yeah.
very long shot. It's only a couple of seconds. Because everybody was complaining that they shut everything down for 2 weeks, and there's like 3 seconds of
Yeah.
film.
yeah,
But
it's probably
and then
because
there's an
Vin
Irish
Diesel
friend
wouldn't
of
let him
mine
blow it up.
What'd you say, Todd? James just kept talking.
saying that there's an Irish friend of mine, and Ida's, Colin Meagle, who comes from more of the business world, but he's always wanted to be in the movie business, just like a lot of people. And so we all hit it off. And so he came to me with an idea, which was a good idea. And so we're going to turn that into something that we're going to shoot here. And then, but I mean, as soon as something's concrete, I'll come back on your show and give you the scoop. I don't play by the rules anyway.
No, but I am genuinely happy for you because you look like you're all smiles. You just look happy.
I'm pretty stoked about this. I am happy. I was never. I mean, we've talked about this a gazillion times. Hollywood is not a place of happiness. You're building other people's fortunes. You're making other people rich, and you're doing it by having other people tell you what to do. So it's just there's not a lot of reward in that. Jason X, my first movie, I'm very proud of it, but it went in a different direction than I originally wanted it to go. Mm-hmm. And so that was always a stinging thing. I wanted aliens, and I ended up with something more tongue-in-cheek. And I've learned to love that over the years, but it's not what I wanted. Drive Angry was exactly what we wrote, but budget-wise and shooting-wise, we didn't know what we had to work with. It was just a more difficult process because you're dealing with line producers who are telling you only have this much money, and it was a very difficult way to shoot. And so it shows on screen because we were constantly not sure of what was going on. And it's difficult. It's a difficult business where we're building this and we're exhausted and we're tired all the time, but we know that there's a goal, there's an end game. And that end game is to, have a place where you guys can come and hang out for a week and just chill out and invite your friends.
Well, we would never invite our friends, but we would invite. Oh, well, you mean you wanted. You never did, but a lot about just because you weren't getting everything you wanted in the day.
Patrick's and Patrick, I need to get from here. And he said it to Nick. It was D. There, but it was a different way of making movies. It was more. I mean, the only way I can describe it is sort of a negative pickup way of making movies, although that's not exactly what it was. In that you only have so much money to make your movie, and so sometimes you're using equipment that's older because it's cheaper, and then that means you have to do more ADR work, and so it was stuff like that. And so there was a even though we were shooting, it was the first time we wrote a screenplay, and that's what we shot. That was great, but it was a different process. And so, and by the way, it's still my favorite process of everything that we've done. But my point is, you're making that film for someone else. If Drive Angry had been a success and the William Fichtner doll came out, you pull the string in the back and he's like, "Hey, fuckface."
Yeah.
I get no money for that and never would get any money for that. And that, always irks me because I create, Uber Jason, love him or hate him, there's Uber Jason dolls out there. I get nothing for that,
Right.
and never would. So it's a different kind of world. And so I'm excited about this because now the stuff that we're creating will be ours. And I like that.
I was going to say, so should I not flaunt the first ever McFarlane toy I ever bought?
No, keep it. It's a beautiful thing. I have one. I have one that came signed.
Yeah.
It's a lovely thing, but it's one of those things where, you see it and you're like, that came out of here. In fact, I had to argue for that to happen, and yet I get nothing for it.
It's just
and it's not like I need anything for it. It's just, it's
I get
work. You should get paid.
I do find it weird. This is off topic, but it is kind of weird in terms of me becoming me. I give Joe full credit in that Joe introduced me to movie poster collecting. It's one of my passions now. I collect movie posters, but the first movie poster I ever bought was Jason X.
Is that right?
I thought it was the coolest poster I'd ever seen at that time. And
it was a pretty cool poster.
And I didn't know it was written by a guy from Kentucky or anything like that. And I never not thought in a million years I would talk to the screenwriter. And then the first ever McFarlane toy I ever bought.
Really good. My fucking.
Well, anyway, but
I didn't know you had that.
You didn't? I thought we talked about this.
No, we both have it.
Dude, you think your feet?
I know you defend it. I've seen the Jason 5 and Jason X thing. I know you defend it.
I'm not a big fan. This is the only one I actually like.
I agree. It's the only Jason I actually enjoy. I've watched multiple times.
And the thing that you hate about it is what makes it, God damn it, which makes it different is what I like about it. Although,
and again, this was before I knew Todd.
I would have liked to have seen Aliens.
I watched Jason X repeatedly even before I knew who Todd Farmer.
Right.
Look, the poster is great. I agree. It is a great poster, but Uber Jason doesn't come out until 70 minutes into the movie. So that, that's, and I think when I started talking about Drive Angry and I got off topic, but the thing, that's into the movie where she never says you break over. That to me,
it's not. Got him on once, but he's just an incredible storyteller.
He was a really good guest.
Yeah,
he was a fantastic guest.
I enjoyed having him.
And every once in a while, somebody will go on a rant on social media about the real cut of the Wolf movie, Cursed. And I always go, he was on Bonehead and explained the whole thing. Nobody pays attention to us. But anyway, that's beside the point. Why do you think Drive Angry wasn't a big success?
I think there's a lot of things. I think
I never asked.
I think 3D.
Yeah.
I think 3D had its day. People were sick of 3D. I think Nick had a bunch of movies back to back. I think it falls into the category of Big Trouble in Little China movies, Blade, Fifth Element movies. That is it a comedy? Is it a horror? Is it a thriller? What is it? And I think anytime you cross genre like that, you're in trouble. It's hard to market. I think that hurt. I think it was just a perfect storm of, it was also original. No, it wasn't.
Well, no, but you had and you got real lucky with Fichtner.
Oh, got great lucky. It wasn't. That wasn't actually luck. That was Patrick. I mean, Patrick saw him, and who's the guy who just won for the Drop the Bomb movie? Won the Oscar.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian came in and read for The Accountant. I mean, there were a bunch of guys who came in and read for The Accountant, and was fantastic. But Patrick saw something in Fichtner that just grabbed him. And even Fichtner said, the character is described as he had a bounce in his step, and Fichtner based the entire character on that. He had a bounce in his step. Because Fichtner showing up was the stranger showing up in High Plains Drifter. He just sort of materializes in the distance, but he had a bounce in his step. And Fichtner created this character in his brain. He didn't change the dialogue, but Fichtner would still be shooting the movie if he had the opportunity. He'd still be shooting his scenes.
I don't know if you've ever
Shoot
listened.
take after take.
I don't know if you've ever listened to any interviews with him before, but he has said some wonderful things about that movie and that part.
I actually haven't. That's lovely to know.
That is true. It's true. Well,
He's fantastic in it.
I listen to a lot of stuff when I have time at work or whatever, and I'll listen to it, and especially how people interview people. But I was curious because I think he nailed it with Big Trouble. I think that's a great example, Big Trouble in Little China, because and here's something else. Notice I said, sorry, I hope this doesn't upset you, but I followed it up now with, I'm going to have another number 2 that's going to make you feel good. There's this lady I know I work with. She's really into horror films, and we have an argument all the time whether Old Boy is a horror film or not. And I don't need anybody to answer. I know my opinion. I don't think so, but she does. She asked me who, and I was like, oh, we have an old friend. Who is it? And I said, well, people ask me sometimes at work, and I go, well, he's a screenwriter. And then they go, oh my God, really? And she goes, what do you write? And I said, well, Jason 10. She goes, oh. And then I said, and Drive Angry. She freaked out. I think it has a cult following, and I think we're going to see it more in the next 5 to 10 years.
I
just want you to know that there was somebody, there was a lady today who was just got so excited because she was like, nobody ever knows that movie. I love that movie.
Well, you tell her that we talked about her, and I think she's very smart.
I will tell her. I will tell her that her name is Sarah, and I will say, Sarah, you can say, Todd, Sarah is very smart.
Sarah is very smart.
Very smart. Yeah. All right. Well, at least I know I'll get at least one view.
But you mentioned earlier, and you were talking about it with as far as revealing things that you don't, play by the rules. And obviously you don't. You went and bought a castle, and you're doing all these things that, it's one of those things that I always think about, like conversations that I had with my parents. I'm going to go try this. And my parents going, that's just never going to work. And I can't imagine if I would have at any point called up my mother and went, I'm thinking about buying a castle. We're going to film movies there. We're going to do all this stuff. But it's also really inspiring for a number of factors, because I think you don't play by the rules. You're rewriting them. I think there's this idea that the rules aren't working anymore. Not for everybody. And so they have to be reworked.
I don't think that, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I don't think the rules are working. I don't think the rules in Hollywood are working. I definitely don't think the rules in our country are working. I don't think any rules are working. And I think it's a time where you have to, and I hate to use this example because I don't want to say theft is a thing that we should do. But if you look at the men who are the most successful, and, the white men that are the most successful currently, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs stole his program from Texas Instruments, and Bill Gates stole it from Steve Jobs, and Zuckerberg stole it from the twins, and it's Elon Musk took it from all these other guys. The most powerful people that we know are people who sort of took. I'm not saying I'm not saying we want to do that, but there is certainly a pirate Viking kind of thing that you sort of have to phase into and lose fear and just go out. I would like to think that you can do that in an honorable way, and you can pay your crew a good payday and make them happy to be on set and make a good movie as a result of that. I always loved the idea that, back, was it Creative Artists that everybody was a part of the movie back at the time. It didn't work, but I always loved the idea that, the crew comes in and if the movie is successful, we all win. And I know there are companies that do that. It's very socialism to say it, but I just like the idea that, we're not fighting against each other to get a movie made. I don't understand that. And I've never understood that. And it's
because a movie is a team effort. It's always going to be.
Should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it is actually a team effort, but
it is.
It's a team effort where only a certain handful of people actually profit.
Exactly.
That's the sad part.
Yeah. And the other people, because we've had people on the show, literally when the movie ends, those people are now out of a job and are seeking the next one.
Yeah.
So,
And certainly I think right now we're in a world where, I think we've been in this world for a long time, where the actors come in and make a fortune, and good for them because that's why people are watching. But I wish there were more Keanu Reeves out there who could sort of give back, help the crew out a little bit.
agree.
So,
Todd,
like on Drive Angry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, please. I want you to say more Drive Angry. Go ahead. And then James
I
can
don't know if I don't know if I said this before, but in Drive Angry, they didn't want me to be there, and I don't hold any grudge against them for that. And when I say they, the producers and the executives in charge didn't want me to be there, and that's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. It was more thing in the older days. They didn't, the directors didn't want the writer there. You didn't want the writer coming in saying, well, that's not the way I wrote it. And that was never the kind of person that I was. And Patrick wanted me to be there because he knew that. But they did not make it easy for me to be there. And so I wasn't making any money to be there. I'd already made my money when I wrote it. And so I was getting per diem, which I believe was $100 a week, maybe. And then we would have this drawing every week where you would give a certain amount of money, and then there'd be a drawing at the end of the money that would go to the crew. And so Patrick, I noticed, was giving $100. So I was like, okay, I'll give $100 too. And so we were putting $200 in the pot. And there would be times when there was $240 that were won that week, and Patrick and I were given the $100. But I was giving the only money that I was making on the job so that it would go to the crew. And that's not necessarily a noble thing. It just felt like the right thing to do because I knew that the crew wasn't making a lot of money. Because it was not that kind of movie. It was not that kind of movie where the crew was being paid a fortune. There are movies where the crew makes very good money. That was not one of them. I know we had, PAs that were working for next to nothing. We had PAs who were working on a broken ankle and didn't find out until the shoot wrapped, and then she went to the doctor. So bless her heart. But, it was just, it shouldn't have to be like that. It shouldn't, we should be paid well for our jobs. And if the movie doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does work, then it pays for all the movies that didn't work. That's the process.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think it would be.
James, do you have a question? Because I have.
Well, I was just thinking about, as you were talking about, and I get my the expectation that people think that I'll somehow work in a Harlan Ellison reference, so I'll go ahead and do it. One of the things that he talked about as he struggled with movies and things like that is kind of as you alluded to, the idea that you've imagined it, right? You've created it, you've done all this stuff, and then the author often doesn't get the credit. And there's a story, and I forget the director, but it was a famous one that at one point was going to adapt something that he wrote. And the story goes that he called him and he said, well, I just can't imagine it the way you wrote it. And Ellison's response back, you don't have to imagine it for you. Just shoot it. And I that line pops into my head for free anytime.
It's hard not to love that
those
line.
Those conversations come up. But I think that's one of the things that we struggle with, and I'm teaching a course right now that looks at pop culture as it's shown even when it shows colleges. And one of the things that comes up in that is kind of that entire conversation that it's the actor, you might know the director, but often the screenwriter doesn't get. So one of the things I tell my students is look at your college films that you love. Look at Animal House. Look at who wrote them. Where did they come from? What does that actually tell you about what they were trying to capture? So as you were talking about that, it just all popped into my head for free. And I think that's really a challenge.
Yeah, it is. And it's not the recognition. I never really needed the recognition. That's not, I just want to be a part of the team and make a really good movie together. And there was on Drive Angry, there was a point when his assistant had to be let go. And so I kind of became his assistant. I was running around doing his things, and I didn't bother me in the least. In fact, it was an honor. I loved it. I wasn't getting paid for it. The production loved it because I was doing all the stuff that they didn't have to hire an assistant. But I don't know that it has to be that hard. And I think we live in a society where the 1% is making a tremendous amount of money, and the people who are actually doing the work the workforce is not making a tremendous amount of money. I don't think teachers should be going to Target in the middle of the night spending their own money to buy pencils. You know, in America, that it shouldn't be that way. I don't understand that, and I never will understand that. Teachers should be way higher paid than a lot of professions. But
Yeah.
what do I know? Do you guys know any teachers?
We hire a lot of ex-teachers who come into, believe it or not, who leave the public school system to come work in higher ed because the money's better.
Well, and
And
Yeah,
just like an
that makes
admin
sense.
job. Yeah, no. But
Yeah.
James, before before we go, because we politically agree on most things, but what I'm going to ask you is not, I don't need you to lay out your business plan for me, because I've said this many times and most people who work in the industry agree with me. It's never been easier to make a movie. It's never been harder to make money at it.
Yeah.
So how have you all figured out the plan of the business model of, because that's what, and I've seen this with a lot of independent filmmakers, a lot of people like us who they can grow, they'll raise it, they'll get it, they'll actually get the movie done. And then, there's that whole third act of getting it in the marketplace,
No, absolutely.
getting that back. And
The Distribution Act.
that's the
Yeah.
bitch. And
The
especially
Distribution
streaming.
Act is Distribution Act is the toughest part. We're not to that part yet, but
Okay.
we have a pretty good number of connections that we feel pretty confident about. Now, those connections aren't coming on board yet because they want to see the finished product, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, but as far as investors and financing and all that kind of stuff, that stuff we kind of feel like we can do pretty well at. And shooting in Portugal, I think I can turn I can't. Ida can turn 2 million into 4 million.
Yeah.
It's just this is what she does. She loves creative and she's very good at creative. The last couple of screenplays I wrote, she changed the direction, and she's frustrating because she thinks outside the box, which a lot of times I'm like, you can't do that. But I'm also the kind of person that for my career has been made out of taking really executive notes that are often not very good and making them work. But I can take her notes that are very good, but I don't understand them because they're so far outside of the box. And then like once I do understand it, then this is something special.
Okay.
And so that's been a nice dynamic to have with someone. And maybe Patrick's the only other person who I had that with. I've worked with a lot of people, co-wrote with a lot of people, and it's been frustrating because Patrick and we could finish each other's sentences. Ida and I, it's different, but it's in that same world, and so that's fun. It makes movie making fun again. And so I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it does, and I
got
didn't.
distracted by
I don't know that I
names.
had a. Yeah, that's okay. No, I don't know that it was very concrete. Other than, I was just curious as far as you're working through your business plan of those things, because I totally, in fact, everything you just said, I assumed it's getting it shot, but getting it out there, and then
Well,
having the return on investment.
Yeah.
Because you are going to be.
It's also been like the whole school thing that we've talked about. That happened because there's really no crew here. And so we're going to have to be training crew in order to make this happen. But yet, if we had a school that, the government in some instances will subsidize, and so we can bring people in and teach them and help. And you can certainly we can focus on unemployment, on people who are unemployed. We can focus on younger people who want to be in the film industry. And we're not talking about teaching somebody how to write a screenplay. That comes later. We're talking how to hold a camera, how to light, how to pull cables, how to be a lawyer, how to be an accountant, because there are accountants and lawyers who could diversify by understanding how to do accounting for movies, because it's very specific, or do lawing I said lawing, do their law dogging for movies.
I loved it.
And so, that's the stuff. And it would be a situation where we could bring in our contacts. We could bring Josh, a camera guy that we love and adore, and bring him in, set him up. He lives here and he teaches. And, we can, now granted, we all have to deal with some Portuguese, but that's okay. Figure that part out.
You'll figure that part out. And the cool thing about all this is that you will own your shit.
Yeah. I mean, we'll co-own, we'll have partners, and I'm okay with that. Because,
yeah,
in
you
every
know what
other
I mean.
movie I've made, I didn't have a partner. I
Yeah.
do, yeah. And I feel very good about that. I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about the journey, just the journey itself. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like, you walk outside right now, it is silent. There's no helicopters, there's no cars. We're on the top of a hill, and there are some houses in the distance, and we can see them, but it's quiet. People go to bed early. It's just,
Wow.
there is a peace. There's a peace I probably haven't had since I was in Kentucky. Like, it is the kind of thing that because I grew up in Benton, Kentucky, and Benton, Kentucky is tiny, 4,700 people. And I think it's always been 4,700 people. They keep being born and they keep dying at the same rate.
Yeah. And you're
was,
probably fairly accurate.
Yeah. But it was so quiet there. And right now, the only thing you're going to hear out there are crickets. And I'm okay with that. And I got a frog with these big, giant cement
Ponds?
pools where they hold water.
Yeah.
And there's one frog down there. And that frog goes on there all night long, and I love it. And I took some fish from the local fish store. They had 6 fish, and I bought 3, and put them in the pond. And now they are procreating. Hallelujah!
That's great. So, how far are you away from a town?
If you mean the village of Longo, that's just at the end of the driveway. We are in Portugal in 2017. There was a horrible fire that struck an area called Pedrago Grande and killed 67 people. And it was just one of those. It was just a perfect storm that caught a bunch of people by surprise. And they have since, when there's a fire here now, 8 or 9 planes will fly over, pick up water from the river and dump. I mean, they've got the biggest fire department you can imagine in this tiny little town of maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people. And so that's the closest town. They've got your cafe.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your coffee there. You can go to a grocery store that's about the size of our winter room. And then there's a place called Coimbra, which is about 30 minutes away. And Coimbra has the Coimbra University, which is where J.K. was when she wrote Short Harry Potter, because they dress the same as you see them all in the gowns and stuff. So it's very Harry Potter. And so Coimbra's, it's a big city and it's great. So we go there all the time. So I don't feel like we're far away from civilization, but at the same time, love it here. It's peaceful. I feel completely re-energized. I'm saying you guys got to come.
I was gonna say
you look like you're dying.
You do seem more.
I'm trying to save your fucking lives.
You do seem way more relaxed.
Way more.
I am.
Yeah, you do, seriously.
Yeah.
I am.
I don't think it's proper English, but way more is accurate.
It's true.
It's just
it's true. And these guys,
you have like a fucking glow
about
about
hey,
you,
Todd, excuse me.
Have a glow.
Joe, go fuck yourself. Todd, continue.
No, I need to go fuck myself way more.
That's true.
And goodlier.
And goodlier. Way more goodlier.
Nobody reaches in and say they wish I hadn't done that more.
It's pretty damn funny, by the way. But Chad's right. He has a kind of a glow on him that he didn't have last time.
Well, it's
also it could be the lighting. It could, or it's the satanic possessed dolls behind you that have taken over. And one of them's got his hand up Todd's ass and is basically doing
They are not satanic. Look at them. They're adorable. There's a couple that are naked up there too.
Yeah, well, I tell you, they said Lucifer was
hold
the
on,
best
bring those
looking...
closer. Zip.
But by the way, I mean, let's just go completely hypothetical here. If I was going to haunt a place and I was going to do so, or I was going to be in a place for an extended amount of time, we won't say eternity, but a long time, I don't know if I'd want to be dressed the whole time.
No,
You know what I
you
mean?
can't take
Like,
off your pants.
No, totally not.
yeah, I'm not gonna. You don't want to wear a 3-piece suit while you're like for eternity. Why would you do that? So I support the doll's choices. Is my point.
I agree.
Now this is funny. Now I pulled open a screenplay today because I didn't save it, so it's asking to save, and it's pulled up a folder. This is called the Dead Projects folder, and I'm just looking down through here: Amityville, Bedlam, Bloody Mary, Devil's Commandos, Escape Clause, Halloween 9, Hitcher, Necroscope, Red Sky. Trying to just see no evil. I'm looking at the things that you guys would recognize: Skullman, Stigmata, Witchblade. I mean, this thing just goes on and on and on. These are all movies that I worked on that didn't get made.
Yeah, but which
Oh, how sad.
one of them pisses you off or saddens you the most?
I mean, The Fly, Fright Night, Ghost Rider, Halloween, Hellraiser, all of those. I mean, all of those are great scripts.
Your Fright Night,
Narcosis was great.
your Fright Night was interesting because it was Jamie Lee and holy shit,
Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins, right?
Atkins.
Yeah. You used to post a lot of that
Tingler,
stuff.
Snake Plissken.
Ah, Tingler.
Tingler would have been lovely.
Oh,
So now tell me you got paid for every one of those
No,
during development.
not even. Say maybe 20% of them we got paid.
oh.
Maybe not
Well,
even 20%.
what
Not
was
even
your
20%.
what was your update of William Castle's The Tingler? What was your going to be what was your hook? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, it was sort of an MK Ultra sort of thing. It was college students. One of them says, "Hey, I know this place that will pay us if we go in. They'll give us a shot, cold shot or something like that." And so they drove up to Canada, and it was sort of an MK Ultra thing. And so they put this they give them a shot, but the shot is part hallucinogen, but it's also they put this thing inside you, and the thing comes out. It's like this little creature, the Tingler.
Yeah.
And but they think it's a hallucination at first and that's the way we play it. So you think it's a hallucination. But it was fun, and I remember we wrote in the voice of Sigourney Weaver as the computer. Just, it was really a lot of fun. We had Tunicliffe Gary came in and did all these designs for the creature, and it was just. I mean, Patrick and I for a long time we had so many things going on at the same time. Slashers, there's slashers. Slashers was our thing where we had Jamie Lee Curtis, Kurt Russell. We had all of the heroes from those kind of movies on one side, but they were fighting Kane Hodder and Derek Mears and Tyler Mane and Tony Todd and all of these guys who were the slashers.
Yeah.
And so and Bill Fichtner was the guy in the wheelchair in the asylum when all these guys were around him, and suddenly they're just gravitating to this guy in the chair, and then they all break out, and Bill Fichtner's their leader, and they go to this town, and that's where Jamie Lee Curtis is the cop, and Kurt Russell's the mayor, and all of these, and then the younger guys too. Some of the guys from Scream, they're all Skeet's there, and Johnny Depp's there, and all of these, and so that was going to be this great big thing. Yeah, that didn't happen.
What stopped it from happening other than getting Jamie Lee and Kurt and all those people on the same? Well, I bet I'm going to assume that you could have got most of them, except the hard one would have been Kurt Russell and Jamie Lee.
We pitched it all over town, and just nobody bought it. A lot of times it's timing. But yeah, I'm just going through. There's a lot of cool ones. It's no regrets though. That's fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun sitting there just with your buddy, imagining all these wonderful movies that you just don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most frustrating part is you write these stories and you want to share them with people. You want people to enjoy them, read them. You want to know, did you like it? And that, so there's you never get never get to the orgasm, you know?
Yeah. Which one is the one that came
Um,
closest? Would it be
Of
Halloween
all
or
these,
Hellraiser? Yeah.
Halloween yeah, Halloween definitely was the closest. Because we were going to go into production on that one right before Drive Angry. I think of all of these, yeah. Halloween 3D,
Yeah. And those Weinstein
it would have been
bastards.
called. Yeah.
Out of the one, out
Well,
of the out of the
they're not.
ones, out of the ones you listed, you just shot through. I definitely would have liked to have seen your take on Witchblade or Snake Plissken. Definitely
I think we called it Snake,
called it
and
Snake.
I'd have to, like, a lot of these. I see the name and I'm like, what was that? I don't even remember that. I worked on Amityville. I worked on 2 of them. What did I do? Do you remember the old movie Bedlam?
Mm-hmm.
It's
There was an old RKO movie Bedlam. I worked on that, and that ended up doing Monkey's Paw based on that one. Yeah, there's a lot of movies here.
Yeah.
Exorcist,
So
2 Exorcists,
hold on. Where did you,
Hatfields and McCoys.
not to change the subject, but you were going to say something about the Weinsteins. What were you going to say?
What about?
I said those Weinstein bastards when you said they shut, about Halloween 3D, and you were about to say
Oh,
something.
well, we're not gonna have to worry about them no more.
No, you don't have to worry about them anymore.
That's what I
Are you going to say
that's what I was
no?
gonna say.
No.
No, you don't have to worry about them guys no more.
But I did hear an interview with Rob Zombie talking about, okay, they're just as bad as you think they are. They're just, if not worse. But the good thing about them is if what they could, his point was if they committed, they didn't want it in next year. It was, you got a green light, get shooting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said
I mean,
that actually is
I
one of
used
the
to
positive
watch.
points for them.
I mean, my whole experience with the Weinsteins is because I was partnered with Patrick.
Yeah.
I would have never gotten to them otherwise. But because he did Scream, and I can remember he said to me once that they came to him for a movie, and I want to say it was based on the fairy tales movie, Grimm. Was it Grimm?
Grim Fairy Tales.
With
Mhm.
yeah, who were the actors in that? 2 actors.
Matt Damon and Heath Ledger. You're talking about
Matt Damon.
the Terry Gilliam film.
The Terry Gilliam one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Brothers Grimm.
I think that's one that Patrick said they came to him to do. And I was a big Terry Gilliam fan, and I was like, well, you're going to do it. And he goes, no, I'm not going to do it. It's like, what? Why wouldn't you do that? And he goes, because they're going to screw it up and then they'll come to me later and I'll make twice the money. I was like, that's awesome. And that's exactly what happened. But the problem with that is they come to him with a disaster. And there's only so much you can do to fix a movie like that. And he did a great job, but it's, still was a flawed movie. But I mean, I think it would have been flawed either way. So it wouldn't have mattered. But
That's a really good story. Patrick did not tell us that. That's a really good story, though.
yeah, well, next time you have him on, you ask him, because I'm sure he tells a better. The great thing about Patrick, and I only recently stopped drinking despite all the booze behind me. Did we talk about the booze yet?
No, because
You
I
said-
don't bring it up because you quit drinking, and I was talking about I have a bad habit of, let's have a drink because I have a drink, and then I was like,
Well,
shit, he's not.
I mean, I still will have a drink. I just don't drink a bottle anymore. I might have a glass of wine at dinner, but I won't put away a bottle and then go stumbling around the house looking for more.
So you're
I
not
don't do
doing
that anymore.
You're not doing, and by the way, this is me dropping names. Watch your toast. So you're not having one of those Thomas Jane nights that you've had before?
I have not lately.
Is that
It's
a
been
throwback?
a long time.
That's the throwback.
That is a throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom had his days of liking to party. He did indeed. And I was there partying with him, so I know this.
So back to the bottles, the wine.
Oh, well, I mean, we not only inherited the dolls, but we also got.
You got cursed. You got cursed wine too.
You can see it
easily. Yeah, I'm
So
going to show you this one. I think you'll love it. Look at this.
Ooh, look at that ass. He's been working out.
it is good. Oh, that's beautiful.
That is amazing.
Here, put this down.
For those who are listening to our podcast, he's basically holding up what you see in the back of taxi cabs, but it has wine in it.
Or what's
But if
it?
you, so when you sit it down, the little toggle turns off. And when you pick it up,
Oh, it's cool.
music.
That's very cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like a crown of some sort that has wine in it. That is
Yes.
awesome.
It does.
So-
It was. Go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to ask how did if the house was empty for all this time, why had it not been looted? How was this shit still in it?
Portugal. There's no crime here.
Oh,
None. I mean, and seriously, there's no crime. There was. Man, I say that when we first moved here, there had been a beheading recently. But beyond that, there's no crime.
Well, but and this
Well,
is
don't laugh. That's not a funny
this-
story.
well, and this is going to sound
They had
terrible.
it coming.
especially since it was Todd's cousin.
This is going to sound terrible, but I mean it still seems like there's no crime, and this is going to go dark quickly, and I don't mean for it to, but I think it's a
Yes,
fair
you do.
comparison.
Yes, you do. Shut the hell up. You did do me for it to go dark, or you wouldn't say it.
One beheading is not even equivalent to one school shooting, and we've had a lot of those. Right.
That is true. That is true.
And so
There-
I mean,
yeah.
so
Okay.
so one
First off,
one
let's-
extreme crime does not equate to what is the evening
That's true.
news here.
Okay. How
I
can
don't-
you say I apologize for this for being not that was clearly going to be a dark statement before you even said it.
Well, but my point is, Chad, is that like so and you all know the story, but my eldest went to Japan and lost her wallet with her passport and all those vital things in it, and it got mailed to us. Like it was found, and everything down to the lint was still in it. Like nothing was taken. Nothing was taken, and it was mailed. They paid the international shipping to send it back to my daughter. We had canceled the passport, obviously.
Yeah.
But and so I think when we think about crime, and there's this sometimes stereotype that America is no different than anywhere else. Our crime rates aren't worse or anything, and I'm like,
No, we suck.
pretty sure if my daughter would have dropped her wallet in the Walmart near where I live, it would not have came back to us.
Well, I did a thing when we were looking for houses in Ireland. We were there for about a month. And I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I did a post on Twitter where I said, we've been in Ireland for a month. And in that time, there have been, it was like 40 something shootings since we were gone, and none in Ireland. And, there's been no shootings since we've been here a year. There's nothing. It's not like they don't have guns. They do have guns. They don't have handguns, but they have rifles, and we have wild boar on the land. And during the pandemic, they weren't shooting the boar. And so the boars have just propagated like crazy. And so now they're everywhere. And our goat farmer has said, we've got some holes in our fence that surround the land. And he was like, I need you to fix those because the boar keep going in and digging up all the stuff that I'm doing and makes it more difficult. So I'm going to get them out. But as far as guns, it's just not an issue. In crime, it's not an issue. The garage is wide open. The kitchen door doesn't even lock. So right now, currently, in the downstairs of this, we knocked a giant hole for the kitchen window. And that hole is wide open. And that door is right behind me, and it doesn't lock. So if you want to break in, come on over and there's also, we broke out a huge to make a French door. There's a massive hole downstairs right now. We keep going in because the dog keeps coming in and shitting. And it's not our dog, it's Black
Oh,
Dog.
shit,
I don't
I'm
know what his
sorry.
name is. But what? You've never had a dog come in your house and shit?
I have, motherfucker. The problem is it's always
Yeah.
funny. It's always funny hearing your voice and by our accents.
Yeah, and she's
back to
right
us.
there.
Yeah. And by the way, she looked like she was. I didn't want. Todd was in the midst of a story earlier, and she was twitching so bad. I was almost. Chad, is that dog having a seizure?
No, she
Well,
runs in her sleep.
We've got a Twitcher.
well, I like when your kids come in to mess with the dog and you have no idea.
Now, listen
You
again.
just
Uh,
Yep.
this is a completely free idea. Feel free to make this into a screenplay. Let me Americanize your plan a little bit. Okay, you've mentioned there's one bear,
yeah,
and there's all these wild boars. Arm the
yeah.
bear, American style, and let it just take out the boar. I don't know how that
Armor the
would work.
bear.
Yeah, arm it. I don't know how. I mean, can you machine gun a bear's arm to where it would maybe auto fire? I don't know.
I think machine
You
gun
might be able
bear.
to strap one to its back.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then maybe, it can be I don't know, maybe a feral child that got lost in the woods during the pandemic rides the bear and takes out the boar.
I
Or
mean, you're pretty good at this.
Listen, again, I have ideas. One
no,
of them will eventually catch. I still dislike the follow through, but just a feral child riding a bear, taking out wild boar. If not,
What could go wrong?
if not as a movie, I think my son would at least play it as a video game. Like I could sell him on that
No, I would
concept.
totally play that. Yeah,
Todd.
I would
Once
totally
again,
play that as a video game.
it's back to what you were saying about timing and location. If only we had been at the asylum, the movie where they used to do the sci-fi network, and we'd been there in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, they would have just put us
Yeah.
up to a machine and just
Totes.
sharktopus one week after another. Machine gun bear.
You
This
can't go
game,
wrong with Machine Gun
yeah,
Bear.
this movie won't be a bore. See, the marketing's there. It will
No.
just work out.
There you go. It's not bad.
By the
All
way,
right, go ahead.
did you guys see our buddy Tyler in the Deadpool trailer?
Yeah.
We just saw it Saturday because we
How cool
all,
is that?
oddly enough, that's the first time the three of us had been to a movie together, and a friend of ours was in from Wisconsin, and we met them, and we went to see A Quiet Place year
Quiet
one or
Place, day one.
day one, whatever it was. I already forgot the title, and yes, he was back. That's exciting. I think he may be at
I
Scarefest
know, how
this
cool
year.
is
I'm
that?
not for
I
sure.
haven't talked to him about it yet, but I don't know. I mean, he and Derek have been doing some stuff. So yeah, and yeah, he you know who would probably come on the show? Do you know Jeffrey Reddick from
Jeff's been
Final
on it.
Destination?
Jeff's
He's
been
from
on our show.
Kentucky.
Yeah, he's from County.
Okay.
He's done the show. In fact,
Yeah.
he just is one.
He's got a thicker accent than all of us.
Does he really? I didn't notice it when he did the show.
I think he does.
But that's
I think
because
he's got that definite Eastern Kentucky.
yeah, like me. He's from Breathitt County. He grew up about an hour from where I did. And oddly enough, two people that were a pain in the ass that I thought when we started the show 7 years ago that I was like, oh my God, well, we'll definitely be able to get Jeffrey Reddick and Todd Farmer. I got Patrick Lucier before I could get Todd fucking Farmer.
How did
I don't remember now.
I know Jeffrey was on the show?
I
Let's
don't, but
look
it
up.
took forever. And do you know how
was he before me?
I'm not for sure if he was before you, but oddly enough, do you know of all the people that I should have been able to know who knew him in the industry, who should have got him to the show? You know how I accidentally finally got it? Was there's a guy I work with at UK who's an academic advisor and who works in advising like me, and we're friends, and we were just having a conversation one day. And he's an actor, and he did a voiceover for a
Mhm.
short film we did, and he and I were just talking. I don't even think we were drinking it; we were just talking. And he started talking about his college roommate, and he went on to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, "Your college roommate was Jeff Reddick?" He goes, "How the did you know who Jeff?" He texted him, and he was on the show within 2 weeks.
Wow.
But I knew other people. I'd reached out to him, couldn't get him to do it, and then that's just how these things go, right?
Well, I'm going to text him anyway and tell him that we talked about him tonight.
Please, please. He just executive produced a
Well,
movie that was shot in Owensboro. It's
I
an
didn't know that.
independent film.
Which one
Yeah,
was it?
It's called New Year's Eve, New Fear's
Oh,
Eve,
yeah, I
something
did.
like that. I know
Yeah.
the writer, director, producers are two guys I
Yeah.
know. I know them both, but I know PJ a little bit better. So I think Jeff was one of the executive producers on that.
Yeah, I've known Jeff since first time I came to LA. I met him almost immediately.
Did you really?
And yeah, we met very early. And but I always lived too far away. Like LA spread out weird. So, you go to parties that are kind of in your area, you don't see everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking Jeff, we would definitely do it. So it's good that he's done it.
Yeah. Bob Singleton, by the way. I need to give the shout out to Bob. They were college roommates. So we're just
My
talking.
my
Mhm.
college roommate, to my knowledge, and Chad, not the Chad that's on the show, but Chad, if you happen to be listening to this show, I'm shocked. He didn't, to my knowledge, didn't go on to work in movies. I just want that publicly stated. Now, if Chad comes back and tells me, no, I work in movies all the time, do our show, Chad. Uh, sorry, I just wanted to say my college roommate didn't do anything that was movie worthy.
By the way, what's the time difference there? Because it is 8:45. We have had you on for almost 2 hours.
8:45. Well, then we beat BJ. Who's been on the longest?
Hmm.
BJ McDonald was what, 90 minutes? A little over?
Probably.
You have been listening. By the way, BJ and I, we need to get him back on. We got along great.
The
No, Peter David.
No, he didn't like
Peter
me that
David.
much.
I was gonna say it's Peter David's the answer for the longest because we had to split into two, and I think each part was still an hour and a half.
Peter
'Cause
David. BJ, by the way, PJ, he may have talked shit afterwards, but we got along great during.
No, he didn't.
He didn't talk things.
I never mentioned it to him. I should have, but I never mentioned it to him.
I didn't know you and BJ were friends.
I don't know when we met, but yeah, he and Adrian I've known for a while. He and I had always talked about doing something together. We just hadn't found the right thing yet.
Yeah, I watched.
He's good.
Yeah, he's talented. He's a talented cameraman, and he only had one rule. Well, I can't talk about it here. I just realized he asked me not to talk about it, and I can't talk about it now. But no, we got along great. That's just a social media friend where I just love to interview sometime. He took me up on it. So, and it was a lot of fun.
He's a good guy.
Most of we usually, what the thing is when people ask, and I just had this conversation with somebody Wednesday, and it's only kind of closet film geeks who I know in my other life, and they'll come up and sometimes they'll get a little courage and go, oh, have you met blah 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 or blah blah blah. I'm sure you get it too from people who don't work in the industry. Like, you met Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
What I get is that, and I always look at them and go, listen, I talk to a lot of production people, and let me tell you, you know what they have in common with you and I? They're nerds. They just happen to make a living doing what they love, being nerds.
Yeah, that's true.
They're nerds. We're just geeks. So if you can get on the same wavelength and like the same things, turns out you will like each other probably, and it works really well.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, except for us.
Well, not Chad.
No, he's just angry. But that's
I'm
okay.
a ray of fucking sunshine, you dickweed.
Yeah, but you're the one ray of sunshine that will cause the cancer.
It has been almost 2 hours. When do you want to come back? Now
I'm not coming back after you guys come here. We'll just do a show here. We'll do a show in the tower.
I will come. How much is a plane ticket to Portugal?
A lot.
You're gonna put me up, right? If I buy the plane ticket, you could at least give me a place to stay.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
And we have to hire the donkey to get there because Todd's cheap.
I mean, there is a donkey not that far away.
Chad, I've already given you.
He calls her princess.
I've given you the option already, Chad. We'll ride the bear. It rights itself.
So I mean, you professional school people, you guys get like holiday time, right?
Yeah,
vacation.
No, I wasn't joking. I can make it happen.
I mean, what are you going to do with it? Go to Opryland? No.
No, I just took my kid to Universal beginning of June, and Chad just took his kids somewhere, and then James doesn't really see his kids, but
I mean, I do. That plate glass window works both ways.
do they have the phone thing too?
Yeah. That's a joke. Well, this is the prison library behind me. Is what you don't know. That's
Yeah. Get busy living or get busy dying there, James.
stocked with Richard Corbin's Vault of Horror. Just if anybody's wondering, Haunts of Horror. Sorry.
Very nice.
And so forth. So, yes, I am more than happy to come over, but when people say come over, they're usually just being nice. Although, did you know director Jeff Burr at all? He directed Leatherface, Texas
No.
Chainsaw 3, and a few other stuff. Is
No.
one of the ones that we got, and this is something I've bemoaned the last year or two. He passed away last year and was really, it's kind of all of a sudden. And he'd been on the show and he didn't do a lot of podcasts, and our friend Mick Strong got him and we hit it off, and he had basically quit Hollywood to move back to Dalton, Georgia to take care of his elderly mother in her last years. And he had encouraged us to stop by, and I was like, "Oh, next time we're through Dalton." And then and it's one of those, damn it. It's like you were talking about. Just do it. It's the adventure. Just go do it. What are we waiting on?
Yeah, I'm not just saying it. I'm saying it because, I didn't just say we're going to move to Portugal. We moved. So
yeah, you're right.
Here we is in Portugal.
Yeah.
Y'all come on over.
All right.
You can leave your donkeys at home. We got some.
I have no donkeys. I live, which is funny now.
No, he doesn't have a donkey. He's just a jackass.
Oh,
I got 2 jackasses.
Which is funny. I now live in more of a metropolitan area than you do.
You do indeed.
How did that happen?
Are you guys in Lexington?
I am in Lexington. Chad, actually, all three of us are in Lexington right now. Yeah. James teaches at Southern Miss, so he goes there to teach and then comes back. But yeah,
where I have my beautiful 1-bedroom apartment that used to be cheaper, man. Inflation's killing me.
Yeah, we all live in
So
Lexington.
it's not unlike a wee castle.
It's weird. But hey,
weird.
Todd,
just a little weird.
If this makes you feel any better, James lives in Southern Mississippi. We're our best friends. We have yet to actually go down to visit Southern Mississippi.
I literally
when he's there.
How far is that?
It's about
7
9
hours.
About 9.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's a good drive.
I joke all the time. Nobody, like my family has came down, my wife and children, and my mother came down once, and that's otherwise like that. I say it half jokingly. I can't afford to die in the apartment because nobody will know for a few days, and I don't want to pay the cleanup bill from the great beyond. So
I mean, that's wise though.
Yeah. Well, that's my goal is, I think if I feel something coming on, I'll go out to the swimming pool. That way it becomes a mystery.
Well, I tell you what, if you come here, we got a lovely cork tree, and I'll bury you right under that.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, it would disappoint some of my family because we do have the family plot back in Eastern Kentucky now. But
fuck that thing.
Well, I was about to say, because that would be the great story for some later genealogical study, right? Somebody be like, why did great Uncle James end up buried under
in Portugal in Todd's basement with the other
Tommy
demons?
Lee Jones hook you up to. I'm gonna have Tommy Lee Jones hook you up to the back of a horse and pull you all the way down.
Oh yeah.
He's going to Larry McMurtry you. Well, boy, it's hard to turn his last name into a verb.
Larry Darling
into a verb. All right, we are clearly reached the end of a coherent conversation. So, what we've got is that when you start production,
we reached that before you hit record, you dumb.
That's true.
Oh, now I've got an idea for a story called "As I Lay Undying" about having to haul a zombie behind a horse. Anyway, go ahead.
What we're going to do is 1, thank you, Todd, for coming on the show. 2, thank you for the invite. 3, when we come there, you're pretty much just going to have to sit there and listen to us pitch great ideas for movies that we will shoot on your property. We will just sit there like 3 monkeys on 3 typewriters giving you script pages for a week going here.
All right, here's my idea. A 2-hour film of me eating figs from your tree.
That's nowhere near.
I don't know why I went full Paul Lynde, but I did.
Hey,
Go get 'em,
boys.
boys.
Go get them, boys.
See, there's very few podcasts that I do that reference Paul Lynde.
Well, that's because they're all 20 years old, 20 or 30 years old. And here's the thing that pisses me off. Let me go and get over that. It's true. I get it. You're younger or you're older, but if you're into some of this stuff, you should know some of it, right? And the excuse of, well,
You should know some of it.
that came out before my time. It's not a good excuse. I always harken back to a quote I remember. I wasn't alive during the French Revolution, but I can talk to you about it a little.
Move it in, move it out, disco baby.
The problem is I can't. I can't talk to you about Portugal. I
Yeah.
really don't know shit about Portugal.
It's a lovely little village.
I'm sure it's wonderful.
It
I
is.
don't know. And Portuguese. Next time you're going to talk to us about Portuguese food.
Okay. It's very easy. I don't know much about it.
You're the only one over there going, you got cheeseburgers?
Well, when I came here, I thought it would be because, I just think Portuguese and Mexico are similar, but they're not anywhere near similar. Spain's right there, but there's no Mexican food. There's no burritos. It's mostly chicken and fish, and the fish is cod, and it's not fresh cod. It's salted cod. So when you walk into a grocery store, you smell it, and it's not good. It's bad.
You're not selling me on the food when we get to
I'm not going to feed you cod.
He's gonna
I
feed us
may.
wild
I may.
boar.
Yeah, you could
The
probably
boar
just
is actually pretty good.
I was about to say, can't you just
Imagine
shoot
The
the
boar
the
is
wild
actually very good.
can't you shoot the wild
Yeah.
boar on your property and eat it?
You can shoot, or they trap boars and then they stick them. But you can shoot, trap 11 days out of a month, but nobody's counting. So as many as you want. But they're fast little fellas, and they're not. We don't ever see them. I only saw them once. And so, but you see the signs of them because they dig everything up all the time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited about hearing James, Chad, did you have anything else to add or ask before we got off? All right. I'm excited about hearing about all your adventures. I'm going to push stop now so you can talk to me and tell me all the things that I screwed up during this, and James screwed up and Chad screwed up. We love talking to you.
Mostly just Chad.
Okay. That's okay.
I get it a lot.
We love having you on. I never want to bother you. So it made our day when you sent out that email the other day. So we really do appreciate it.
Well, I wasn't sending it to you. I was sending it to your listeners.
The joke is that we constantly do. What is it, James?
That's for the listener to decide.
The listener to decide.
I really want though, Joe, I know you love to edit this stuff. Can you put in the more you know star after he does I did that for the listeners, and just like the more you know.
He's being funny. I would rather paper cut my gums than edit this stuff, but I always end up having to do it. So yeah, that's what we're being funny. All right,
Joe, you can do both.
That's true. This has been Bonehead Weekly. Thank you, Mr. Farmer.